Hello one and all, my name is Ryan Bruce, my friends call me Fluff, and today on Riffs, Beards, and Gear, I'm going to break down a mix that I recently did for Wake Me, La Resistance. Alright, so I thought I would do something a little different for today's video, and I would break down a mix that I recently had come out. It was released, you can go listen to it right now. I'll link down below in the description, by a band called Wake Me, the song called La Resistance. This song was a lot of fun to mix. It's also really, really catchy, and I was humming it for weeks after I turned it in. It's great. So I thought we would dive in. So let's hang out in Logic for a bit. I will play you the first little bit of the song so you can kind of get acclimated, and then we will check out some drums, we will check out some bass, we will check out some guitars, and we will talk about them. We will talk about all of the things. Here we go. Let's play a little bit of La Resistance by Wake Me.
So pull your hand back out before I cut it. I'll throw you under the bus, I'm not above it. If you're just like me, it's easy to love it. I'll let you make all the rules so I can break them. I see you clutching your pearls where you can take off. Pull back the curtain, I'll pull on your strings. You're in control, but it's only a dream. You wanna drag me down, I'll pull you underground. I'll become your misery. This is a social suffocation. This is a social suffocation. This is a social suffocation.
Gets big, gets thick. I love it. Also, I love the guitar tone that I got on this song. So let's go ahead and start with, you know what? Let's start with the drums. So I will note that right off the bat, there is a ton of automation going on this song, which I feel like is necessary for a real modern mix. There's a lot of movement going on, and there's some particular automation in the rhythm guitars that we will get to in just a moment. For the drums themselves, there's only a little bit of automation for the most part. You'll see I have my drum master. So this is everything treeing up to the actual drum. So I have all of the drums basically on a fader that I can just uniformly move the volume up and down. So I have basically kick, snare, toms, overheads, and rooms going to, let's see, I have my drum dry track. I have a drum crush track, which is my warm bus compressor, just set to actual kill. And I blend that in underneath the actual unaffected drums for parallel compression. I have a drum reverb bus. I have a snare gate, a gated reverb for the snare hits. And I have just a regular reverb. I call it snare reverb here. This is more of kind of an auxiliary reverb if I want to bring it in and out. And all of these then go to my drum master. Okay, so I have a bunch of sends on my individual tracks, my kick, snare, toms, and overheads. Mostly the snare is where the business is happening, and there's a lot of automation going on within the snare. However, let's just hear just the drums when they kick in. These drums were tracked at producer Joey Bradford, a dear friend of mine's studio, the Vibratorium, and they sound awesome. Wake Me's drummer is also just a badass, so that makes it pretty easy. So the drums come in and out of this particular track. So let's find the snares. So in this modern of a song, there has to be drum samples layered in with the real thing. And that's what I try to do with basically everything I do. I never try to fully replace, because you lose panache and you lose feeling when you replace everything. To that effect, I am gating the top and bottom snares with Black Salt Audio's silencer, which is a wonderful plugin. And then I am coming in and layering with Slate Trigger. Okay, so and when I do the samples, I try to tune them and kind of get as close as I possibly can to the snare and timbre of the actual real life snare, because, you know, this is the snare that's in all the overheads and you don't really want that clashing. I also want to make sure everything is phased as well. But if you get all of those things correct, you get a pretty dialed in snare sound. This is the overheads. The overheads actually sound pretty great. I have them pretty smoothed out. Okay, so that's the drums, and for the most part, I really didn't do much. I did automate the levels of the snare as the timbre of the song changes. So for example, all of these levels are pretty consistent, and then we get towards the end of the song and I wanted a lift, so I automated the snare up just a little bit. So to that end, you have to make decisions on where the kick is gonna be and where the bass guitar is gonna be. This is a pretty low tuned song. However, the bass guitar is played pretty tight and there really wasn't too much of a problem. However, let's listen to the isolated bass guitar. So what I did with the DI is I have a clean DI. I have an Ampeg amp sim for the bulk of the bass tone, and then I have Neural DSP Parallax for the grit, as it were. And I basically just blend that in kind of in parallel. It just depends on the actual song. I don't do this every time. The DI is also cranked. I am compressing the DI. I don't know why this keeps showing up as these controls. I just have the 1176, which also will take off some low end, but that's okay because I'm coming in with the SSL and I'm kind of saturating it anyway. So for my bass bus, I have the LA2A, which does not take away low end. I have some broad stroke EQ. I'm adding a ton of top end back in because the band really wanted to hear that attack of the bass guitar. I am also being very mindful of the low end for this track and the bass. Black Salt Audio's low control keeps it in check nicely. I like that I can kind of compress and keep the low end in check and then boost and using the enhance with that feature. I am then coming in with Cornif Audio's L1 limiter, keeping everything in check. And then I am side chaining the bass guitar. Since this is a center channel instrument, I am side chaining it to the kick and to the snare. So every time the kick and snare hit, it ducks the bass just for a second. This is on fastest attack, fastest release, and you can see it ducking for the kick drum.
It's easy to love it.
And that's basically the bass guitar. Let's move on to the rhythm guitars. Now, the rhythm guitars were reamped with my 3-channel, my really early 3-channel triple rectifier with a Boss SD1 overdrive in front of it. Didn't really have to do much to the guitar tone. So I remember a note coming back from the band that they liked the level of the dun dun, but really wanted to hear these middle staccato bits, the gallops. And rather than just, compressing it even more and losing all the dynamics, I just automated that individual section each time they played that part for this part and the rest of the song. I just automated it up basically a dB, and it sounds nice and level, and I'm not using compression to do that. I just used automation, volume automation on the actual bus itself. So as far as processing for the rhythm guitars, I'm using the amplified instrument processor from Cornif Audio. I'm basically only using this to take out the 4K, the whistle, and the second and third order octaves of that whistle. Next, I'm EQing it. Not much EQ, honestly. I really felt like the guitar tone was pretty much exactly what I needed, and I basically ended up carving for sonically what I was looking for. I believe I made one of these dynamic, if I'm remembering correctly. So great thing with the Pro Q3 is, you can make any one of these EQ points dynamic. And so I was really wanting to control the low end buildup for the palm mutes of these particular guitars. And I was doing just that at 175, which kept it nice and tidy. Next, I came in with not an L1, I came in with Pultec. Again, I'm boosting a little bit of the lows, but I'm also attenuating some of the lows which is just a cool Pultec thing. I'm also attenuating some of the top end. Just a little bit, just the toppiness, because this is a Vintage 30 cab impulse that I used on the triple rectifier. And then I come in with the L1. The L1 limiter is, again, just keeping the palm mutes, because you can see on the waveforms or on the DIs here that the dynamic range is pretty significant compared to the regular gallops. And then I'm coming in with Soothe, and I'm taking off just some spikiness. It's not a ton, it's just enough though, because I felt like there was a buildup of kind of noisiness in the far left and far rights. So let's move on, shall we? I feel like we should go to the big chorus, the big bridge section.
Power control, it's all power control, it's all an illusion. Power control, it's all that you know. Let you know, power control, it's all an illusion. Power control, it's all that you know. Power control,
I love that. Basically, they took a whammy and just kind of went nuts with it, and it really is a cool effect that adds a lot to that section. Let's play that back.
power control.
So I am using JST Side Widener 2 because this was just a mono DI, and I really kind of wanted to accentuate the panning that is kind of inherent in the intro and outro of that track. And I just thought it just sounded really, really cool. So I went with that. There's a ton of post effects in here. Let's go to this post effects bus. There's all sorts of sound effects stuff. EDM stuff.
Power control, it's all that you know. Power control, it's all an illusion. Power control, it's all that you know. Power control, it's all an illusion. Power control, it's all that you know.
Generally, for my vocal chain, I will come in with something like Sonox's Voca, and I will use some saturation and some initial compression. And then I will come in and I will DS Let's see. Boosted some top end, and then I came in and compressed again with the 1176.
Power control, it's all that you know. Power control, it's all an illusion. Power control, it's all that you know.
That's the bridge vocal. Let's find the chorus. So the chorus vocal, again, I did Voca, DS, a little bit of a different EQ. I have a dip in the 140. This is what that sounds like. Basic reverbs and delays going on.
You wanna drag me down, I'll pull you underground, I'll become your misery.
I love the grit towards the end when he does that high note. So sick. So sick. Really? That's basically it. The total track count for this mix ended up being 127 tracks. Not crazy. I mean, when you consider, you know, I've also done mixes that are 250 plus with tons and tons of post effects. Also, movie soundtracks and shows and orchestral stuff is hundreds and hundreds of tracks. But yeah, that is the mix for La Resistance by Wake Me. Again, shout out to the band for letting me make this video with their song. I will link down below in the description if you'd like to go check out the song for yourself on all major streaming platforms. And with that, you've been Waterfly and Fluff. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.